So I'll briefly talk about my experience at the 3 anti-vaccine rallies that I just went to, hosted by Nick Fuentes. And the first one was in Staten Island at some hospital. And it wasn't that big of a turnout, but it was in Staten Island and on a weekday, a work day during work hours. But there was still like 60 people or so, but it was a smaller gathering. But it was pretty cool because I haven't been to any events since AFPAC. And we got there, and there's like a bunch of turkeys around there for some reason. And then when I walked up, the first people that I saw were this Gen X mom and her son, who have been following me on Instagram for like over a year and a half. And they were like, "Oh, you're Spexo, it's so nice to meet you," whatever. They asked me to sign their America First flag, which was really cool and bizarre, and like it was weird because as more people came, like I didn't think that anybody like was gonna know who I was or anything like that, and people like knew me from Instagram and stuff, which was really cool, and like wasn't expecting that at all. But more people started to gather, and there was journalists and stuff, and then we get a notification on Telegram from Nick that one of the people there was some like Antifa journalist, and somebody pulls him up on Twitter that he took a picture of somebody going to the rally in an America First hat, and then posted a picture of his face and calling him a fascist and all this stuff. And so we all start screaming at this Antifa journalist guy, and he's like, I'm not Antifa, I am a never Trump Republican, blah, blah, blah. And we're like, okay, but you're doxing people, you're trying to get people in trouble for having different views than you. And then Nick comes, and everybody, you know, shakes his hand and stuff as he walks towards the middle to start giving his speech. And he shakes my hand, and he says, "Oh wow, you lost a lot of weight, you look amazing," which now it means I can never get fat again, so that sucks. And I brought one of my crucifixes, and I didn't know what the response was going to be. Like, I knew it wouldn't be a bad response, but I didn't know if people were going to be like, "Oh, you know, that's kind of obnoxious," or something like that. But the crucifix was a great hit. Nick asked me to hold it up in 2 of his speeches, and then the last speech he actually took the crucifix and held it up during his speech, which was really cool. But the first rally in Staten Island was more like an appetizer. It wasn't like a giant rally like the Manhattan one ended up being. But after the Staten Island rally, Nick hung around and everybody was talking to each other. I met Jaden again, Wuzu was there, and then these 2 self-proclaimed Nazis, right? They literally call themselves National Socialists, came to there to try to provoke us and instigate us. And it was just really funny because you have these Antifa people who are trying to dox us and calling us white supremacists and white nationalists and all this stuff. Meanwhile, there's like 10 or so like black people in our side, right? And then you have these Hispanic, non-white people who call themselves Nazis instigating us. It's just so ironic and stupid. And I kept like waving my crucifix in like the Antifa people and the Hispanic neo-Nazis faces and stuff. And I got some pushback on that from a couple of people messaging me, and my wife actually, that because I was like giving them the middle finger and saying "convert, faggot" and stuff. And like they were saying like, "Oh, that's not like very Catholic of you," blah blah blah. And you know, maybe I shouldn't use profanity, and that is something that I try to work on in my daily life, is not to use profanity so much, which I have a problem with. I try not to curse in my videos and stuff, but you also have to remember, these people are evil. These people are working for Satan. We are Christian conservatives who want to put our country first, and these people slander us and make our message synonymous with evil. Meanwhile, they are promoting all types of degeneracy and disgusting filth, and they're doxing people with these labels. Like, they're showing these people's faces, getting information on them, and then labeling them neo-Nazis and white supremacists and stuff like that to try and ruin their lives. That's what they are doing. They are reality manipulators, they are slanderers, they are evil. And of course we should pray for them, that they see the light, that they come to Jesus Christ and they stop their evil deeds. But while they're committing evil, we're not just supposed to be like nice to them and stuff. When I shouldn't use profanity, of course, but when you're in that moment and it's getting like intense and stuff like that, and people are yelling at you, and you know what these people do, yeah, I really don't have anything to apologize for. These people are terrible human beings who need to convert, and until they do, then they are wicked and they are my enemies. And journalists and these wignats, these people who actually call themselves neo-Nazis and white supremacists and stuff like that, even though they're like Mexican, these types of people people are on the same level of evil as far as I'm concerned. They are, the only difference is that the Wignats are like racially conscious leftists, and the journalists are basically, I guess they are kind of racially conscious, they just hate white people, I guess, but they're basically on the same level of evil, because these people hate us, they hate our message, they hate our values, they slander us, lie about us, they hate Jesus Christ, and they're both equivalent of our enemies, and they both dox people that support Nick Fuentes. Oh, let me clear up, because there was like, since I went to AFPAC, there's been like 4 hit pieces written about me, and I've been doxxed like 5 times, but they called me, what was it? They called me a white nationalist, a QAnon supporter, a former member of Identity Europa, and a Christian supremacist. Only the Christian supremacist part is correct. I proudly Christian supremacist, Christ is superior to everything, but not a white nationalist, not a former member of Identity Europa. I was in like a Discord server with one of the members, I guess, like three years ago, and I had no idea what Identity Europa was about, and I was in the server for like 2 weeks, and it was really gay. All they were talking about was putting up stickers and meeting at bars, and I don't drink, and I was like, this is really corny. And then I see a video of somebody in Identity Europa like giving Roman salutes and stuff like that, and I was like, this is retarded, and I left the Discord server. I'm not a QAnon supporter. They posted something that from one of my posts about adrenochrome or something like that, and said, oh, he's a QAnon supporter and thinks that pedophiles run the world. And it's like, yes, I do think pedophiles run the world, but I'm not a QAnon supporter. In one article, they quoted me as saying, if you don't support what the Patriots did at the Capitol on January 6th, then you're a pedophile and a traitor, which I still stand by that. If you are not on the side of Jesus Christ, you are by default on the side of pedophiles, Satanists, and all these other degenerates and evil people. Anyway, then we went to the Manhattan rally. The first one was at the Pfizer headquarters, and there was another rally that was also anti-vax or whatever, but I guess they found out that the ADL wrote hit pieces on Nick Fuentes, so they didn't want to be associated with him, so they wanted to split the rally and divide it, which is just so ironic, because they have the same enemies as America First. The same people that hate them and that they hate America First, but they don't want to be united and be seen with America First because of things that the people that hate them wrote about America First. It makes absolutely no sense. These like boomer tier conservatives know about, they scream fake news at CNN and know that they lie about everything or whatever, but then they believe all this slander about Nick Fuentes and stuff. And I actually witnessed this firsthand. One of the guys that was from the other rally came over to the cops and were like, yeah, we're the ones that actually have the permit and stuff. These guys are not with us, so we're gonna be over there and they're gonna be over here because we don't want to be with them. Like, you're a loser. Like, we're talking about being against these mandates, against this corporate pharmaceutical government tyranny, and you don't want to be seen with us because of what the ADL said, which the ADL, by the way, was founded from a Jewish Freemason lodge, B'nai B'rith, to defend Leo Frank, who was a child rapist and murderer. You care about the opinions of an organization founded on the premise of defending a pedophile more than uniting over a common cause. And then this one Hispanic dude who actually spoke at the last rally at Gracie Mansion that Nick Fuentes did, he was originally with the other rally, and he saw what was going on, and he like bugged out, and it was all over Twitter and stuff like that, which was really cool. He was like, those are the real patriots over there, blah blah blah, and then he ended up coming over with us. It was pretty cool. Oh, there was this guy that showed up. I had no idea who he was. My dad knew who he was immediately. I forgot what his name was, something Gates, or Goats or something like that. And in 1984, he had a national like trial because these 4 guys tried to rob him on a subway, and he shot and killed all of them. And my dad knew who he was right away, so that was weird. He was wearing a shirt that was like, I'll take a vaccine for $5,000, I'll wear a mask for $10 or something like that. So he was a little bit of a cringe weirdo, but it was funny that nobody knew who he was, and he came in and my dad was like, oh, you're whatever Goats or whatever. And I was like, who is that? And he was like, look him up. And I looked him up, and it was like man shoots 4 teens on subway in 1984. So the protest at the Pfizer headquarters or whatever had over 100 people there on our side, which was cool. It was bigger than the Staten Island one. It probably I don't know. I didn't really count, but at least 120 people. Then Yoba showed up. That was cool. Everybody was chanting Yoba, and then these reporters were talking to Nick, and Tenrio came in. Tenrio is awesome. He's mad funny. He's like super like loyal to America First, and he just like gets in people's faces and stuff. It's really funny because they're interviewing Nick Fuentes Fuentes about like him being accused of being a white supremacist, and then Tenrio comes in, who's this giant black dude, and he's like, oh, am I a white supremacist? It's mad funny. So then after the first rally, which was at 12, we had another 3.5 hours or so until the next rally at Gracie Mansion. And my dad and I ended up driving up there. We were going to originally take the train, but we ended up driving. And we ended up taking the base Gen X mom and her son, who was at the first rally in Staten Island, that asked me to sign their flag. We ended up taking them out to eat to Five Guys, and then we drove to Gracie Mansion. That was, the Gracie Mansion thing was so epic. It really was. We get there and immediately it's already bigger than the previous 2 rallies. Everybody's wearing blue hats. They're giving out the I will not comply shirts. Me and this other kid have crucifixes. Some people have rosaries. People are holding American flags, America First flags. It was awesome. And then you have, like, I want to say maybe 60 or 70 cops like lined up behind the barricades watching us. And then there was the stand, and so then Nick comes out, and they told us to step behind this white line. And Nick comes out, he starts giving his speech, and all these reporters are like writing up in his face, taking pictures and videos and stuff. And he's like, can we get these reporters out of there or whatever? And so everybody's surprised. He's like, why doesn't everybody come close? And we all rushed the stage. It was really cool. And at one point in the speech, Nick ended up taking my crucifix or whatever and holding it up. That was so epic. And then the Antifa people started. So first, they were like making noises in the woods that was next to us. They were shining like lights and doing these siren things, trying to distract us or whatever, and we pretty much ignored it. We started chanting like F Antifa and stuff like that, and then we just started ignoring them. And then, like, I want to say maybe 20 minutes into the speech or something like that, like I want to say maybe 30 or 40 Antifa people started marching towards us, right, screaming at us, waving the anarcho-communist flag or whatever it is, really gay flag, and they start screaming stupid chants that like went out of style in 2016, calling us fascists and Nazis, and saying no KKK, no racist USA, go home Nazis, all this stuff. And pretty soon it kind of became apparent that I don't think they even knew who we were, honestly. I don't think that they knew anything about Nick Fuentes. I don't think they knew anything about us. They just knew that we were right-wing, and somebody probably told them we were white supremacist extremists or something like that. So they just showed up because they have nothing better to do, because they looked homeless and degenerate, and the women were disgusting and probably have really bad relationship with their father, and definitely have no eggs left. So they're surrounding us, they're screaming at us, right? It interrupts the speech. They have megaphones, they're setting off these sirens, then they start throwing eggs at people, right? And all this is happening, and they're closing in. We're stepping a little bit back, right? And they keep walking forward, right? And the cops are watching this. The cops are watching this with their hands in their pockets, and the cops didn't react or do anything for over 20 minutes. For 20 minutes, they watched as these people who were screaming these things at us, getting in our faces and doing all this stuff, they did nothing. The cops did nothing. Right? Meanwhile, Nick is giving a speech about how we have to support these cops because when they go home and they take off these uniforms, they're just like us, and they're being forced to take this vaccine or lose their jobs and stuff. And meanwhile, it shows that they are just extensions of the corrupt federal government that hates us, basically. While there could be some good cops and stuff like that, as long as the police force is an extension of our corrupt regime, they are basically our enemies because they don't protect us. Right? Until their job was to make sure the rally was protected. I'm assuming that Nick had a permit or something for the rally, considering they had barricades and expected our presence, and had the stand set up and all that stuff. So I'm assuming there were some permits that had to take place, and like the street was shut down and stuff. So they knew what their job was, and yet as soon as Antifa came, they did absolutely nothing for over 20 minutes until finally they put a barricade between us and stuff. And there was a lot of close calls where like it almost came, I thought it was going to escalate into like a full-on brawl and stuff, right? My dad was like trying to pull me aside. He was afraid I was going to hit somebody. Tenrio got in one guy's faces. I saw this one clip, well, I took the clip, but where a bunch of Antifa guys were surrounding one of the America First guys, and he was just waving the middle finger right in their faces and laughing. One kid, Bus Groiper, who was awesome. I met him at all 3 rallies. He is such a good guy, and he was holding a rosary, praying the rosary in the faces of Antifa, and people were holding crucifixes, and it was just such good optics, and just super, like, there's this clip of the kid Bus Groiper holding the rosary, saying the rosary while people chant Christ is King, while Antifa is saying like F you Nazis and stuff like that. And it's just like it gives me chills, that clip. It was so cool. But it never escalated. Because if it would have escalated, regardless of like who was right or wrong, the media of course would have called us wrong, and it just would have made us look bad. But everybody did the right thing. Nobody got physical, so that was good. And as Antifa kept getting closer and closer, Nick's speech just got more and more passionate, and it was so awesome. Like, he was just like screaming, saying, if you're not with us, you're against us, you're a slave to the establishment, to the corporate elite, all this stuff. And Nick really is such like just a great leader. He's so, even my dad says it, he's just so like charismatic, and like he's able to just galvanize like these youthful, passionate people and like instill hope in these kids, you know. And not even just kids, there's a lot of young guys or whatever, but there's people of all ages. My dad and the Gen X mom, and there was this other guy who wears this really nice suit with like this like super trimmed up, groomed beard, that was probably like in his 40s or 50s, you know. There's people of all ages, and he just like has this attraction about him, and he really is just, he has this like leadership quality. And, you know, I know a lot of people, some people, I don't know, don't really like me in America First or whatever, that's fine, but I am definitely a genuine supporter of the movement, because it really does hold the values that I hold, and the leadership is fantastic, and it's really the only explicitly Christian, anti-degenerate, anti-big tech, all the most important values. It has it covered, you know. Whatever minor disagreements or extra schizo stuff that I have on the side in my true beliefs, I feel like America First is really the only political movement that is truly fighting for the most important values that are at stake. And I think that it's also the only movement that has any type of potential of actually accomplishing anything, if there is a political solution, right? If there is any chance of salvaging some greatness in this country, I think America First really is the only movement that is capable of doing that. Nick ended up finishing his speech, and then that was it. It was over. But this was definitely probably my best experience since AFPAC and Stop the Steal. I love these rallies. I love standing up for like my views and values and my faith and what I believe in. I wish I could do something like this like every single week. It was great. And I've said this before, but like when I go to these things, it's such a white pill, because on your day-to-day life, and when you're on the internet and you see all these news clips and you see how horrible the world is becoming and how degenerate our country is and how our government hates us and everybody's against us and everything seems like hopeless and stuff like that, then you go to these rallies and you see hundreds of people who are Catholic, conservative, nationalists, love America, see what's going on, everybody's on the same page, right? You don't get that anywhere else, and it makes you see that there is like some like hope left. There is something to salvage in this country, even if we're the minority of people. Like, there's still like something worth fighting for, you know? So yeah, that's basically it. It's time for mass, so I gotta go, but I'm white-pilled, I'm Christ-pilled. I'm really happy that I ended up going. Hopefully I get to go to more events like this, yeah, it's Sunday, so I hope you guys all go to mass. Bye.